show. I hope you're enjoying the report that was just shown to you. And yes, we are back straight to discuss on Daybreak Africa. Today we'll be delving into something more. You know, I told us a bit of it when we started that it's going to be a bit more sensitive, down to the issue of Nigeria joining BRICS. If you are following the news story, you will discover that on Monday, the presidential spokesperson in the person of Bayo Onanuga said in a statement on Monday that Nigeria is also eyeing membership in the BRICS New Development Bank, NDB. And we understand the fact that BRICS, which is termed Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, happens to be a counterbalance to the dominance of the Western, economic power bloc in the world at the moment, and the boast of 37% of the world's gross domestic products. And at the same time, we are looking at something that will be sensitive for Nigeria, who happens to, be on the good terms of the West and still wants to join BRICS at this particular time. To discuss with us, looking at the pro and cons of this particular move, we have with us in the studio an historian. He happens to be a social commentator, very vast with many political matters, in the person of Mr. Stephen Adewale. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, Joshua. Thank you for
welcome, sir.
Thank you for
So we've seen this issue of BRICS. It's been on for years over time. We saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu last year in September at New Delhi talking about the fact that BRICS is not complete without Nigeria joining them. We understand how BRICS operate. We understand what it means for the Western world at this particular time if Nigeria, which happens to be the largest economy in West Africa, joins the BRICS. Now, do you think it's something positive if Nigeria joins the BRICS at this particular time?
Thank you, Joshua. If we look at the international system presently, we have a lot of players in the international system, and it's safe to say that one of the major players in the international systems today is BRICS bloc. That's, like you said, the BRICS countries were made up of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Then South Africa joined a year after its formation. So it's one of the bloc is a powerful bloc. So it would definitely is going to be a positive thing for a country like Nigeria to be part of it. But if our president, I disagree with the statement of our president that BRICS is not going to be completed without the presence of Nigeria. The reason is that what is happening presently with Nigeria as far as the international system is concerned, or as far as the international relations is concerned, I think it should serve as a lesson to with the present generation to know that we have to take advantage of what we have right now, because those things are not going to be there indefinitely. You remember when the effort to establish BRICS did not start today. It did not even start. It was not even. It didn't even start in 2005. It started as far back as year 2000. And at that time, Nigeria had everything going for them. And you realize that when Russia and China were making efforts to form that BRICS, Nigeria was one of the major countries that they were targeting in Africa. But at that time, Nigerian leaders, being led by President Olusegun Obasanjo at the time, was very skeptical. Remember that Obasanjo at that time was struggling to get loan debt forgiveness from the Paris Club and from the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which you know as World Bank, and in order to achieve that, International Monetary Fund was rolling out series of rules that we have to implement, guidelines that are to be implemented, and Nigeria was adopting everything hook, line, and sinker. Now, at that time, people were international leading countries in the world that being represented by IMF were skeptical of that BRICS. They did not want the association to come into play because remember that Cold War had ended. Now, after the end of the Cold War, we only had what we called unipolar world order. Forget the fact that people believe that China is very powerful. We have Russia that is still powerful. But the truth is that immediately the Soviet Union fell, disintegrated in 1989. What we now have, we used to have bipolar world order. That's the world where two countries rule. But now, from 1990, what we had was unipolar world. Until date, what we still have is unipolar world order, which one country rules the entire world. That's the United States of America. Now, at that time, the Western world, being led by the United States, did not want that bloc to come into play, and as a result of that, they did everything possible to discourage and to deter countries countries in the from the south, leading countries in the south to be part of it. In fact, that was one of the reasons why South Africa was not part of the founders of the BRICS, because the BRICS started with just BRIC without S. Yes. That's Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Then the following year, South Africa became part of it. So, and you know that now it's a slap on Nigeria's face now, because despite the fact that our president was saying that, remember that recently BRICS even extend the BRICS bloc in the annual conference in South Africa. They extended the invitation to series of countries to be part of BRICS, and the countries they targeted, they were all producing countries from the third world countries. Like we have South Africa, for example, United Arab Emirates, Iran, even Iraq, and all that. All of them, Saudi Arabia, they were part. So they extended the invitation. Even Egypt, Ethiopia, even here in Africa, they extended the invitation to them. Algeria, but as far as Nigeria was overlooked, and it's sending a very strong signal to show that people don't take us, and not even people, internationals in the international system, they don't take us as serious as we think they took us in the past. In the past, they used to say that if Nigeria sneezes, then the rest of Africa catches the cold. But the reverse is the case now. There are many countries in Africa that you are going to you will pay more attention to before you even go to Nigeria now. So it's quite unfortunate, and it shows that we really have a long way to go if we actually want to go back to where we were in the 70s, in the 80s, and even in the early 90s, when we single-handedly established ECOMOG and the rest until date. The rest of the world, they are still using it as a yardstick in terms of how to establish international military organization. So reverse is the case presently. So whatever our president is saying is more or less like a rhetoric. It's not really going to add any value to the real situation on ground.
So what's the real situation on ground? But I think I want to just base a bit on you talking about the fact that we still have a long way to go in Nigeria to get to that reputation. I remember when there was consistent coups, even in West Africa, talking about Niger and some other countries around, and Nigeria being the authority in ECOWAS, our president being the chairman of ECOWAS at that time, try to enforce some laws upon those countries, sanctions and everything, just to ensure that they reverse those acts. But it didn't really stand to a point that we even had to ease on it. Until today, those countries are still ruled by the military, and many people have to question that, does Nigeria still have that status to still stand as a world, or let me say an African giant, like we always claim? Where do you think we missed it as a country majorly in the international phase, to a point that even within West Africa, we don't have that kind of status that we used to have, like you claimed, even in the early 90s, showing that the fact that even from the 2000s, we have been reducing gradually in influence, even to this particular time. Where exactly did we miss it as a country?
If we want to talk about where we miss it in the international system, why people don't pay attention to what Nigerians say or to what Nigerians don't say, we have to look at our domestic affairs. We have to look at our national issue, because national affects international. Whatever happens within affects how people see you from outside. So, and you realize that when your home is not settled, it's going to be difficult for anybody to take you serious. It's just like a married man, for example, that maybe his family is going through a lot of crisis. So you cannot expect such a husband or a wife from that same family to now be a beacon of hope for others that want to but their own marriage to to work. So that is exactly what is happening with Nigeria. When people were taking us serious, when people were respecting us, remember that this same Nigeria was a country that single-handedly stood up to apartheid regime in South Africa.
In South Africa, yes.
In those days, we had everything that it takes for us to match the pressure from the international, from foreign countries. Yeah. Where every economy was going well within. So because we had a very sound economy, then a very sound economic system. So it's quite easy for us to use those resources to help other countries from Africa. But presently we don't have that any longer. And in fact, it's even worse now. Like you mentioned what happened with Nigerian Republic, for example. Yeah, you know, at that time our president came out and even gave them ultimatum that if the military did not hand over the power back to the civilian, that they were going to invade Nigeria. But we know that it was just, like I said, it was just a mere rhetoric, because the mechanisms that a country could use to implement some of those rhetorics that was being made by our leaders, those things were not there. For example, now in our country today, we cannot even manufacture a single ammunition. Remember that in South Africa, aside from South Africa producing all the ammunitions that they need within, they even export ammunition.
Yeah.
A country like Egypt exports ammunition. Algeria exports ammunition. Tunisia is doing the same thing. So in our own situation, so how are you going to invade another man's country when, for example, you don't even have, you can rely on your fingers for the number of armored tank that you have as a country? And you know, some of these things, no matter how rich you are, you cannot just place the order and they will deliver them in a matter of 3 days or in a matter of 3 months. Some of them, for example, during Jonathan era, there was a military machine that was bought, that was paid for. 10 of them. Now, from 2014 till now, that's this 2014, they've only delivered 3 out of those 10. Despite the fact that we had made the payment, because it will take years for them to be, unlike when you are in your country, and there are countries in Africa that you can easily take more serious than Nigeria. For example, a country like South Africa today, if a country like South Africa is threatening Zambia, or just like the way we're threatening the Nigerian Republic, South Africa will pay more attention. Why? Because South Africa has the capacity to change its economy into what they call a war production economy, whereby they can change everything and be producing a massive weapon. And in the space of 6 months, you are going to see that they will level everywhere. So the same thing with a country like Egypt, same thing ditto to a country like Tunisia and Algeria in this same African country. So we don't have those things again. Now we live in a country where we even import an ordinary toothpick into the country. So that should tell you how serious and how terrible the situation is. So that's why they don't really take us serious, because those countries, don't forget, when it started with the agitation against Western imperialism. That's why at that time, whatever is the, though we can safely say that most of those countries anyway, they are also hypocrites, because a country like Russia was fighting, was agitating against the Western powers for invading other people's country, but Russia is invading Ukraine today. The same thing, China is doing the same thing in their own bloc in the Asian countries. So we see all that everywhere, but now it has gone beyond the Western imperialism rhetoric. Now we are now at the level where people are now beginning to see the economic advantage in being part of that very bloc. But unfortunately, we missed out at the very beginning. So now it's difficult for us to get back in.
So you talked about the fact that Nigerian competence has reduced and all the rest. But you know, we are still pushing, Nigeria is still pushing to be part of the BRIC blocs, because the Bianca Ojukwu said South Africa should help Nigeria to get full membership into the BRIC bloc, not just the G20. How do you feel this push will help Nigeria international relations? I
don't really see the push, in the sense, like I said, most of these things they say is mere rhetoric. You know, there is a saying that there is no free lunch in the international system.
Yes.
So there is no permanent enemy, there is no permanent friend. And don't forget, South Africa is not our friend. South Africa has never been our friend. In fact, in year 2000, when the effort was being made to establish BRIC, one of the reasons South Africa decided to stay aloof was because they felt that Nigeria was going to
better.
Exactly. Nigeria was going to be that they were going to place more. Those countries will place more emphasis on Nigeria. But it was when they realized that Nigeria was not actually making the move that were even pushing those countries away. That was why South Africa became part of it. And don't forget that in Africa as of today, South Africa has even been doing a lot of things that as an African Union, as a member of African Union, they were not supposed to do. For example, there is in African Union, the African Union has its now African Union has its passport, just as you have in EU. With EU passport, you were supposed to, with EU passport, you can enter any country except Britain. That is no longer part of the EU. Of the EU. Now, African Union has the same passport, though the passport is not really available for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Let's use the word in Africa. But there are certain individuals who are economically important to Africa that have that passport. Recently, the richest man in Africa, Aliko Dangote, came out and even criticized South Africa's stance in terms of how they recognize that, in terms of their recognition or attitude towards that passport. Yeah. Because in South Africa today, with that, despite the fact that you have the African Union passport, South Africa will still tell you that you have to apply for their visa. So the same, that's as rich as the Dangote is. Not to talk of a common person. There are many countries in Africa that you don't even need visa. So if South Africa actually wants to be like a big brother, which Bianca wanted us to feel, wanted us to believe that they are. Yeah. Because if you are telling South Africa that let Nigeria be part, that means before you can tell someone like that, you feel like, okay, these people see you as a big brother, but they've never seen us in that light. Yes. They've always been imposed a series of visa restrictions and series of rules on even Nigerians who live in their countries. Yes. So they've never seen us in that light. And you see that even in the internationals, there have been a lot of issues. Many times, Nigeria has been struggling to be part of the Security Council for years. South Africa was one of the countries that still stood against Nigeria, against Nigeria's position at the Security Council. So that should tell you that whatever they are saying today is just a mere rhetoric. We have to put our house in order. No country will respect you because you are just in Nigeria. When they used to respect us, it was not because of the name. It was not because we were the most popular. Yes, we were the most popular, but don't forget that these BRICS that we are talking about today, like I said, they are no longer they are not a mere bloc. Now, we used to have a G7, we still have G7, we have G20. Now, BRICS is actually one of the major blocks, economic blocks in the world. So it shows that present, and among that BRICS bloc, where they already have actually everything they needed. They have the largest autocratic state in a country in the world, which is China. They also have the largest democracy in the world, which is India. So they have those already. So if you are coming in as a Nigerian, so what way are you coming in? Yes, we can say we are the most populous country in Africa, but it doesn't really count any longer. Now they are looking at what you are bringing to the table. And presently we don't have those things that we used to bring to the table. When we had those things, we wasted it. Now it's time for us to face the reality.
Nigeria still claims that they have crude oil. That they have a lot of markets that the BRICS can benefit from. That's how they're trying to call the BRICS into. They're saying they can really help them with crude oil because they're oil producing country. Do you think that's possible?
Yes, Nigeria, like we are saying, don't forget, I agree with you that Nigeria is not a pushover. Yeah. In the sense that we have the market. Yes. So wherever you are coming from, the market is there. So that is a very good case to make. But at the same time, don't forget that presently, like I said, they extended invitation to series of countries, and you realize that 80% of the countries, OPEC, remember that's oil producing exporting countries. 80% or even 90% of them received the invitation. Yes. That's South Africa, United Arab Emirates, all those countries,
Saudi Arabia,
and Saudi Arabia, all those countries. So they received. So if you are looking at the crude oil, from that angle, we can't even use that as a yardstick, because presently even the crude oil that we have is more or less like something that is we are already in crisis with it.
Yeah.
Because what we produce daily, remember that even presently 40% of what we produce, we are using it to service the debt. Yes. That we have before. So in what way are we going to use to even help any member? But yes, we can tell them that we are going to open our market. But the policy of our government in the past, even up till this present moment, is not really, it's not going to so it's not going to make that argument to thrive, because we already have a kind of uncontrolled market. We have a situation where, despite the fact that we're not members of BRICS, China is here in Nigeria, and we see all the things that Chinese governments and Chinese companies are doing. How they even maltreat Nigerians, Lebanese, and a lot of them maltreat Nigerians, and Nigerian government is not doing anything. So the government, the economy is already like an uncontrolled economy. So it's difficult for us, and we have border that we cannot even control, and because these are the mechanisms that countries will use as to say that okay, we are bringing this. But in a situation where you have all this unmanned borders, and anybody can come, you can bring anything from any angle, and it will enter and it will fly. So it's really difficult. Like I said, we have to put our house in order. Remember, if we are saying we want to be a member, yes, we want to be a member, it would have been a good thing to be a member, but at the same time, it's not just being a member. Now, even the people that they are even inviting to be part of their conferences, Nigeria was not even part of it. So that should tell you that we have a very long way to go. So we need to even get the invitation first to sit at the table before we can even start talking. That should, it shows how terrible things are in Nigeria. Yes, domestically we are not doing well, so it's now affecting our
international stance.
That's why they feel they can go to South Africa for help.
Yes, and they are getting it.
But here is the thing that I'm looking at majorly, because you talked about some things. When they talked about the whole BRIC issue at the first instance, the first question that came to my mind actually was, now we know about BRICS stance against the Western influence in the economic sphere, and Nigeria itself as a country, we depend largely on loans from the West. Talking about the fact that the IMF loans, the World Bank loans, currently even our budget for next year, there is still a 9 trillion phrase where we know that it's still going to come through loans and all that. We still have over 40% of debt servicing we're still doing. Joining BRICS, won't it create a dent to our relationship with the West, who are already on our necks due to the amount of debts that we owe them as we speak? I don't know, because even though BRICS has a way of trying to, reduce Western influence even in Africa, because I'm beginning to see a slight power play across the international politics in this particular conference. So if Nigeria goes, at the end of the day, if by any chance we later go into BRICS, would it create a dent to our Western relationship and the kind of loans we have gotten from them in the last few years to at least attend to our infrastructure?
Well, every country in the world today, no country is dealing with just one block. Virtually every country today, they find a way every day to deal with multiple parties. And look at even Russia, despite the fact that Russia and United States of America, they are not on the same side, they are not in good terms. There are numerous areas where they sit down and negotiate and collaborate and agree with each other. So BRICS today, like I said, the rhetoric that started BRICS, or that led to the establishment of BRICS in 2008, the rhetoric, it has changed over time. Yes, it was against Western imperialism, but at the same time, now it's now having more economic outlook. Remember that actually all these countries, especially South Africa, for example, even some of these countries like Ethiopia we mentioned earlier, and all the other countries that they've extended division, even India, IMF is play major roles in a country like India. Are you getting me? So it shows that now people don't see it from that light again, because they are not really a threat when it comes to, they are not a political threat, so to say. The major problem in the international system is that the leading country presently as the power structure of the world is. So they don't want any country or any bloc that will serve as a threat to their power or that will challenge their authority. So there are individual countries within that BRIC bloc that are already threats, like Russia, like China, but at the same time China has been unable to use BRICS, or they've not even made that effort to use BRICS as a power bloc to challenge the dominance of the US. Remember that despite the fact that Russia has been fighting Ukraine for the past 2-3 years now, you realize that in all the BRICS gatherings, they've never used, not once have they used that gathering to gather support for Russia. So it has always been from economic angle. So, and as long as it's economical, United States of America and their Western friends do not have any problem. So, and it's definitely going to be difficult because now there are too many countries within the BRIC bloc that are even more Western oriented in nature than Eastern than they have towards the East. So it's now economical. So, and so far so good. They've successfully arranged it in a way that they've not been able to convert it to a political block. So it means that even if we are part of it, it's really going to help us. But the problem too is that what we normally overlook, what our leaders do overlook, is that even if we belong to if United States of America, that is the leading country in the world, established an organization today and said, oh, let Nigeria be part of it. It is the way we arrange our system. If we don't put our house in order, they are still going to deal with us the way they meet us. Because like I said earlier, there is no free lunch in the international system. It's not as if China is giving South Africa something free of charge. Are you getting my point? So in Nigeria, if we decide today with this our system to be part of it, then these countries, if we open our economy for them, then they will continue to bring inferior goods into our country, just as they are doing now with Chinese companies in terms of road construction and all that. So it will continue in a lot of sectors. So we have to put our house in order. So, but our being part of BRICS is not going to affect our relationship with IMF. It would have affected if it was 24 years ago, when IMF was skeptical at the time that Russia and China were likely to use that to challenge the dominance of US. But now that fear is no longer there, so it's not going to affect the relationship.
It's not going to affect the relationship. Actually, I like the fact that you talked about putting the house in order. Yeah, we'll be going on a break. When we are back, we'll continue and crescendo on this particular discourse for today. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Daybreak Africa on KAFTAN television. We are still discussing international relations. Nigeria joining BRICS as member country. You said something about Nigeria joining BRICS can help us. But you also said a lot of things about the way things are going, that it might not really affect the economy. I'd like to ask, what are the positivity, letting aside all the Nigerian slagging and the race, what are the positivities of Nigeria joining the BRICS?
Okay. There are a lot of positivities, because if you look at the countries that have been part of the BRICS in the last within the last 10 years, you discover that they've been able to benefit a lot of things from each other. The first positivity, let's use the word that a country can derive, is that there is this exchange programs between these BRIC blocks that has been able to help countries, different countries, about like South Africa, for example, within the last 10 years, about over 3,000 South Africans have been trained in China, in Russia, on how to produce this ammunition, how to produce different things, even automobile and all that. So that's one of the major. That's one of the major thing that a country like Nigeria can derive. And don't forget that, like I said, we have the population. In fact, we even have the expert. We have people that have these skills. It's just that many of them were not exposed to those things. And don't forget that we live in a country where right from the time that we have the colonial masters around, they ensure that all the things that our economy was going to be like a kind of a reliant economy, whereby you just rely on on the West. We produce the cocoa here, I mean, we produce the cocoa and everything, where they export it to their country. They make sure that the industry was not established here in Nigeria, so that our people will not learn how to turn this cocoa into a finished product. They did everything that then they bring everything back here. The same thing with automobile, even our university system at the time. Despite the fact that in Britain at that time, Britain was students were being exposed to production of automobiles, even aeroplanes and all that, bicycles. But in Nigeria, they made sure that the first university in Nigeria, that's a university in Ibadan, they made sure that that university was just going to be teaching things that will produce secretaries, like history, like law. You never see anything like even engineering. But until date, you see that our engineering courses, you just see a mechanical engineer, these engineers that are not even employable. So they still have to live there. And even for those who are fortunate enough to get employed, to gain employment into oil producing or oil companies, they will still have to train them over and over again. So those things will not be there, because the exchange programs, Nigeria will be able to, Nigerians will be able to benefit from that. Then another thing, that another positive side of it was that in terms of road construction today, you realize that China is already doing a lot in Nigeria now, but the relationship, the way China deals with Nigeria is different from how they deal with a country like South Africa, for example. That's in terms of loan and maybe how they get the loan back. For example, first, the loan that they will grant a country like South Africa, the loan to be a long-term loan. And even in South Africa, some of those loans, they will grant those loans in the areas today, in the area where they know that it will develop their economy, like this production of ammunition that we're talking about. But in Nigeria, you will never see China granting us loan along that line. The only thing you will see is them granting us loan in terms of road construction. And remember, they are not just granting us the loan, they will send their company to Nigeria. That's why you see the company CCEC or something. You always see them everywhere. That's the loan. So they are not giving us the cash. So they are sending their company. And you see over time, even the critics have come out to say that what China is doing is different from what they are doing in other countries that are in close alliance with them. That what they do is they bring in inferior materials, that so that under 2-3 years we realize that road is already damaged. But in South Africa, they are doing the same thing. I realize that 10 years the road is still there. It's what they built 8 years ago. And they are not just doing that in South Africa, they are also teaching the people, the South Africans, on how to do that. But in Nigeria, they don't do that. They make sure that it's their own people, it's their people that will do everything, so that people will not be exposed to the technical aspect of it. So there are lots, especially in the area of education, there are lots of things that can be derived, and it will also help us in the long run to in terms of how we grow our economy. Because in today's Nigeria, present, even in terms of our crude oil production, presently OPEC is no longer as strong as it or viable as it used to be. So most of the OPEC members now, many of them are struggling to be part of the BRICS nation. So it means that whatever arrangement they are going to have is going to be another arrangement entirely. And it means that if China is going to buy crude or any country, so they will first consider their member before talking to a country, looking at a country like Nigeria. So there are a lot of things that a country like Nigeria can actually benefit. And within the international system, it's going to help us in the United Nations, for example. If you look at what has been happening in the last 9 years, South Africa has been making a lot of waves. Virtually every position in Africa, you realize that it is the people that whoever South Africa supports has always emerged. Recently, Nigeria wanted to contest for a position. Nigeria lost woefully to a country that was as small as Eritrea. Eritrea is not even, the population of the Eritrea is not even up to the population of Ondo State. But so if a country like this can lose to a position in the United Nations, in the United Nations organization, to that particular organization, that should tell you that that country must have had some very serious background. And it's quite easy to analyze. It was because South Africa decided to support Eritrea, and it's quite easy for South Africa because now South Africa has a lot of members who are members of the BRICS, who they will tell that, look, that please vote for this our candidates at the United Nations General Assembly. Then they will vote, and that's it. So there are a lot of things that so it is, this association is just like when we are together, like, you know, this international relations is just like personal relations. If somebody is just alone, they, oh, I'm just minding my business, I don't want to have any problem with anybody, I don't want to have anything to do with anybody. By the time maybe people are contesting, or there's one thing coming along around that area, if they want to vote, people would rather vote for somebody who have more association, who have more resources, who they have been dealing with over time. So that is the problem that Nigeria is facing right now. So Nigeria is presently now, even in Africa, it's more or less like Nigeria is just standing all alone, while most of those countries, they belong to one international bloc or the other. And all the other blocs that we think that we used to belong to, many of them are because they don't have anything to lose again. So none of them take us that serious again. United States, Britain, and all those countries, they have a lot of other interests that they have to first consider before they will even think of Nigeria as a country. So now it is high time we change that position and we start thinking of something else, because there are a lot of things positive things that we can actually derive from that bloc.
Well, if we look at it recently, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, was in Nigeria, who is also a part of the BRICS. Now we are seeing Nigeria to having a meeting with South Africa recently. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was recently with them. That's this week. He's still in South Africa. He hasn't returned. And these are two BRICS nations, even though we know it was with France earlier during the weekend. This week, it was with France as well. And we are seeing this kind of, it seems that there is a subtle way where we are maneuvering, because from your statements, I just feel, I don't know if you feel the same way, that it's best Nigeria just joins a particular bloc at this time. Or what do you think should come first? Get our house together or join a bloc as soon as possible? Because I think even to develop and get our house together first, we also need the influences and the funds from a bloc to at least help us even build most of our infrastructure. Because even some of the loans we are getting, we know we don't get as much as possible from IMF anymore. One of the countries that gives us at least 60% of our loans in the past 15 years has been China. And from your statement, we discovered that it's not even like China gives to other countries like South Africa. So it's also a need for Nigeria at this particular time. Don't you think going for BRICS, going all out to at least join BRICS, or maybe join another viable bloc, is very important at this particular time?
Yes, as in Nigeria, as far as we are concerned, yes, the president is doing a lot of things wrong, but at the same time, there are certain things the president is doing right. And one of the things he's doing right is that is in terms of ensuring that he relates with different
bodies,
different parties, especially at this point in time. You mentioned France. Don't forget that France is very important to a country like Nigeria, because if you look at the West African countries, in West African countries, the only Anglophone countries, English-speaking countries that we have is Nigeria and Ghana, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. Those are the only four. Then we have we also have a handful of francophone countries. That's about two of them. Then we now the remaining countries. In fact, even all the countries that our immediate neighbors, they use contiguous neighbors, all of them
are francophone.
They are francophone. We have Nigeria Republic, we have Benin Republic, we have Togo. So all these countries, we have Cameroon. They are all francophone countries. So, and don't forget that France has a lot of influence on these countries. So it shows that we cannot the importance of France as far as West Africa of today is concerned cannot the importance cannot be overemphasized. So we really have to. So that's why you see the president moving around trying to ensure that at least as far as that relationship is concerned, we get it right. Then it's not really just about the loan, because no country has ever survived or developed actually with loan. That is it. That's why we keep saying that we have to put our house in order. We have to make sure that we reduce the waste in the country. So if we don't reduce that, even all these loans we are talking about, they will keep coming and we'll keep wasting them. and we'll not even be able to trace them. The one that was collected 20 years ago, 50 years ago, where are they today? So it's not about whether more money is coming from IMF or Paris Club or China or any country. It's, as far as Chinese loan is concerned, the Chinese loan we are not even paying back in the immediate. That one is even worse actually, because Chinese loan is more or less like we are servicing the debt with the resources of our unborn generation. Because there are some of them that Nigeria has to keep paying back until 2064. Until 2068, until 2070. So whether China or IMF or any country, it's not so there is no good person or there is no good person among any of them. So what we have to do is that, like I said, we have to make sure that we get it right within. As president is trying to get it right internationally, we have to get it right within. That is the only time those countries can actually take us serious. If we don't do that, they will not. And Nigeria, like we said when we started, Nigeria is a very, very important country in terms of population. That's why you see that even countries like India, that I mentioned earlier, the prime minister will still have to come around to say, okay, we are doing this. But it's not just about, there are a lot of ways that we can actually partner to make sure that our economy returns to what it used to be, or gets to where it should be by now. So look at our educational system. There is a say, and it's still the truth that no country can grow beyond the level of its education. In a country where we live, in a country where we don't even know the exact number of graduates that we produce in this same country. We cannot say that this is the exact number. That's why you see that we live in a country where there is no reliable data. About 3 or 4 days ago, Channel TV organized this town hall meeting, and you realize, yes, they brought in beautiful economic historians, economists, and other people who analyze the
tax reform bills,
who broke it down and in the language that a common man will understand. But if you listen to them, you know that, okay, this thing they were saying, it was actually just that these people know what they are saying, that this was a good bit. But the truth about it, but here is the challenge. Now, if you listen to all the analysis, ask them what the statistics they are using to make that analysis. They keep referring to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. I worked with Nigeria Bureau of Statistics for about 3 or 4 years between 2014 and 2017, and I discovered that Bureau of Statistics, the organization did not have genuine or reliable statistics. For example, if we are saying that we have 25% youth unemployment, what yardsticks did NBC use to get that? Because in other countries you will see that they will know that, okay, maybe there is a card or something that you are going, they will know that, I mean, as you are going to school, they know that, okay, this is where this person is. That was why they came up with the national ID card scheme. But unfortunately, we could not get it right. In other countries, it's quite easy to get the fingerprint of each individual. But in Nigeria, we don't have that. Bureau of Statistics will come out and tell you that we have these thousands, we have this number of people in an environment, but by the time you realize that those people are not there. Recently, the Ministry of Interior came out and said that they've documented about 1 million houses, and they've visited about 1 to 2 million houses. So the question is that let one person come out in Nigeria and say that these people actually visited me. So today we don't even know the number of artisans that we have in terms of maybe car mechanics
and all those kind of people.
Road carpenters. Or we don't have that. We don't have all those. So, but people will sit down in Abuja and you ask them, well, where are they getting this? They will tell you that there is one register, one bat register or something that they are using. So you ask, when did they write my own name in the register or your name in that register? So the statistics we are using, that's so defined. And you know, there is Holy Book says that, one of the Holy Book says that if the foundation is faulty,
destroyed,
there is nothing the righteous can do. So we have beautiful people who can come up with beautiful policy. But the problem is that they are the statistics that they are relying on to implement those policies. The statistics is weak. How can you provide an employment for people that you don't even know where they are, that you don't even know what they are looking for, you don't even know what they need or what their qualification is? We cannot come out today and say that we actually know the number of mass communication graduates that we have, that we know the number of law students that we have, that we know the number of medical doctors that we have. You know, it was so worse that presently now, in those days, if your child gain admission to university to study medicine, people will be happy. The entire street will jubilate with you because they know that, okay, at least you are out of the government. But presently now, even if you study medicine, nobody will take you serious because we see medical doctors struggling to even earn 50,000 naira. So because we've lost it so much that we could not even know. We even find it difficult to know the exact number of medical doctors that we have. So we keep producing people that are now even more than the systems that we have presently. So there was no resource. The same thing with lawyers. Lawyers are even worse. We see lawyers earning 25,000 naira in these same countries that we had. Lawyers that spent 5 years and they will leave and they will still go to law school and they will spend that millions of naira. Now the same people will come out, they will still go to the service. The same people will come out, they will be struggling with 25,000 naira. So it's a terrible country. So if you look at that, if you realize that it's not fund that is going to solve all that. It is the leaders that we have that will realize that, look, the first thing we need to get right is that we need to get it right in terms of statistics. I was saying it when President Tinubu came out and said, look, that they were introducing this student loan.
Student loan, yeah.
As we say, okay, who are you giving the loan? First, you don't even know the exact number of students that you have. You don't know the exact number of students who are going to leave university and secondary school in the next 2 months and will go to university. So how do you plan for people that you don't even know? For the numbers that are not even available. That's why you see that since 2023 now, they keep struggling with that number. They keep saying student loan, but you never see anybody that, because they don't know that, they don't have that figure. So we have to get it right that we need a leader that will come up and say, look, even if it takes us 1 year or 2 years, let's set every other thing aside from making sure that we keep running our economy, keep paying the salary and everything. Let's make sure we get it right as far as statistics is concerned. So if we get it right from that angle, and so people will, all this rubbish are people going back to say, refer to business bureau of statistics, that we know that the statistics is not there. And people are just sitting out there just writing figures down and all that, and our economic historians and our brilliant economists will come out and they will be referring to MBS statistics as the reason why they are implementing a policy. So those policies are beautiful, but because the statistics is weak, so people will not feel the impact.
But I think one of the problems we have with statistics is also the genuineness of the people. I remember when we used to have, historically, the first census we had independently, due to the fact that revenue was to be shared based on population. Many regions actually lied about, it's a matter of personalities too, and sometimes I ask myself, if I was there myself, how do I get the genuineness of statistics from even people within my own country? I don't think anything. Now, we are talking about even a population census in 2025. Do you think that can also assist us, even as we are looking further to, redefining our country at this particular time? Because like you said, I must agree with that particular, even the budgets we even do yearly, if we don't have proper statistics, we cannot totally attend to our economy. So with the population census, currently we are saying local government autonomy and all those do you think it can ever get to a point where we can get it right locally first before we even talk about international organizations?
There are things that have happened in Nigeria in the past that people will tell you that man tried, that the person cannot go beyond that. People keep saying, even up till today, they will tell you that Tinubu is there, that if Tinubu had not emerged as the president, that whoever emerged would not have been able to do better. So people keep saying that. But at the same time, what people don't understand is that in this same country, we've had this Ministry of Interior for a very long time. Yeah. People never believed that it could be possible for you to apply for a passport without knowing anybody, and you will get it. People never believe that it is possible for you before you arrive Nigeria, that that will have a machine that will already analyze even before you arrive, as you are on board on your way to Nigeria, that will have something that will analyze all the people coming in, just as they have in the Western countries. So there are a lot of things that has happened in the last 1 year in the Ministry of Interior, that people will tell you in the past that it's not possible in Nigeria. So it shows that if we could get it right in terms of issuance of international passports, in terms of getting if you go to if you go to our international airport today in Lagos, if you were there on May 29 or before May 29, 2023, now if you visit there now, you will not even know that you were in Nigeria. Immediately you get there, because it has really changed completely. So it shows that if you could get it right from that angle, we can actually get it right in a lot of places. So all these things that we are talking about, they are not problems. The problems are not actually insurmountable. They are the things that, because of our, just as you said, because of our personal selfishness, and the selfishness is not just about because I love my tribe. In those days, it's not just because I wanted to loot money. It's the fact that I love my tribe and I wanted my tribe to be the best. That's how we're doing that. But now it is no longer about tribe. In fact, presently you see a Yoruba man conspiring with an Igbo man, an Hausa man, and all of them will come together. They will loot the resources. They will even deliberately create artificial crisis, and they will be fighting each other. Meanwhile, it was a lie, because they wanted to loot money out of it. So that is what we have presently. So, but it shows that if we have a leader that actually mean well, definitely all those things will change. If we don't get in US, for example, you've never heard that US has done any census for a very long time. But that figure is there, that data is always there. All we are saying is that there are certain things that can be done to make sure that we have all these things in a central data. If, for example, we used to have if our government may decide to make local government no, not even local government system functions very well. If they have that, it shows that in every local government we have councillors. So in each of those local in each of those wards, they can actually come out to actually document the name of each person. And if you have national ID card, I have the national ID card, I have the ID card, we did it with the NIN, but unfortunately it's not the right way. So we need a system that, as they haven't given birth, the system is already there. So that in Abuja, as they are giving birth to a child here in Ondo, it's already it's already there. Already, so that's it. So with that, you don't even need people to inflate any figure. No longer these days. The good thing now is that what we used to fight over, a lot of people now realize that it was just that those things, I don't know, they don't matter any longer. In those days we used to fight that, okay, it has to be from my own hometown, this person has to be from my, but we now realize that poverty knows no tribe. It affects virtually everybody. And we keep asking, Obasanjo was there from 1999 to 2007. I'm still struggling to know how that changed the life of Yoruba people. Now Tinubu has been Buhari was there for 8 years. How has that changed the level of poverty, the backwardness in education, and all the crisis and health crisis in the north? So the same thing Tinubu has been there now for the past 1 year. How has that changed the environment? We are all there, that has that changed the environment of Ondo from what it used to be? So we need, once we know that look, that we are in this together, that is the only time that we can join hands together and make sure that we make this thing work. And we have to make it work in a way, just as we're talking about BRICS, just as they made BRICS work. If they had turned BRICS into a political bloc, by now we'll not be talking about BRICS again. The Western power would have done everything within their power to destroy BRICS. But now what do we have? We used to have a non-alignment. Why do you think that non-alignment did not work? Because non-alignment was not an economic bloc, it was a political bloc. So, but now we have an economic bloc. So it means that if we can create a system that will be anchored on around economy, that people will know that this affects everybody, and we now have leaders that are incorruptible, that will sit that will monitor those things. Definitely things will work. We talk about the Ministry of Interior. It's not as if everything they do, it's not as if everything is 100% right. It wasn't the same ministry that came out to tell us that they've been able to document 2,000 or 2 million houses, and they collected billions of naira for it. But we saw the things they are doing in other places. Look at the minister in Abuja, for example. Look at Wike. Look at what Wike is doing in Abuja.
Yeah.
For example, look at how they are turning Abuja around. If you were in Abuja last year and you go to Abuja so you see the
there are lots of changes.
So you see the difference.
Yeah.
If you've been to London and you are in Abuja now, you start seeing some semblance of. So it shows that it's not if president could get it right in 2 ministries. Then that means getting it right, we just have to get it right in 57. It's 57 ministries. Yeah. Once we do that, then everything will be fine.
Well, God will help us in this country, like many will say. God bless Nigeria and all that. But then I think the BRICS discussion, it's something that we will never exhaust, even if we take days, if we take months to discuss it, because we know it's very important to the progress of our nations too as well, especially like you've stated, which I rightfully agree with. Nigeria needs to first get their house together, then also it's important to be in the right block, like an economic block. And if we have to look at it sincerely, many of the countries who are on BRICS too as well, at a time to had issues like this, and today they are all getting it right and doing fine in the world economics. Thanks so much, Stephen Adewale, for being a part of this discussion. We really appreciate
Thank you so much.
Discuss. I wish we could extend more and discuss more on this, but then this is where we can take it to us, and I hope that maybe with time we will add more conversations to this. Thanks so much once again for being a part of this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Now,
so much.
My name is Ikhonede Joshua Yodeji.
My name is Emmanuel. Always stay with us. Bye.